Derevi Imperial Practitioner just won PNW cEDH Regional Qualifier hosted by Gabby's Olympic Cards and Comics. The winner is Alexander, with again Derevi Imperial Practitioner. 5 wins, 1 loss and 2 draws from 8 games. He's playing the kinda typical Derevi. We have Delny Streetwise Lookout, a huge upgrade for the Flying Bird, Emil the Blessed, Captain Cisse, Fayborough Elder, Kinnan, Toski, Bloomtender, Preston the Vanisher, Rabbit Wizard, Agatha Soul's Cauldron, Shorkai, Genesis Engine, Chromatic Array, Birthing Pod, and of course Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, you kinda get the picture of the deck in general. Derevi has always been a form of stacks and control deck. You're playing stacks flying creatures, preferably, and some blue control cards to get into a very long grindy game. And the printing of the One Ring has drastically been a huge upgrade for Derevi's popularity, as this is more or less your ad-nos kinda. I mean, the synergy is absolutely amazing. So all kinda looking somewhat great. But how do we actually win? I mean, we're capable of drawing a lot of cards, we're capable of interacting pretty okay, but WinCon. There is a very solid combo with Derevi, Emil the Blessed and Gaia's Cradle. Now this is not looking at only Derevi as the potential commander, it's looking broadly in Cisse, Thrasius and such. If your commander is, let's say, Thrasius and you achieve this 3-card combo, you have infinite mana. Now Derevi can play this combo as well, as Derevi is part of the combo, and then you just need an outlet for this. That outlet can easily be Preston the Vanisher. So when you're sitting there and flickering Derevi infinitely with Emil the Blessed and Gaia's Cradle combination, you're creating infinite 0/1 white illusions. And then you can basically sit there and use sacrifice 5 illusions to exile target non-land permanent, and you remove your opponent's entire board state, more or less. But there are other options as well, like Chromatic Array. Gaia's Cradle being a land, Emil the Blessed being a creature we can tutor for. Green is very good at tutoring for specifically lands and creatures, and you always have access to your commander in the command zone, and then you just need an outlet for the infinite mana to achieve victory. Emil the Blessed is also individually good inside this deck. For example, if you don't have access to your commander for a strange agent, which you normally do with Derevi, but let's say you don't have the Cradle, you still have Eternal Witness, you have Spellseeker, Ranger Captain of Eos also have an ETB effect as well. So there are synergies with the Unicorn. Now I love looking at tournament data statistics to get a picture of what's been kind of working out in general. The previous picture we looked at all commanders together, but now we're looking at specifically only Derevi. We have 126 total Derevi tournament entries, and 27 of those have entered into tournaments with Stasis in their build, which is usually the old school Derevi combo that, yeah, as you can see, doesn't really work out that great. So in red you have the average win rate of those 27 at 16.38, which is a drop of around 4%. You see, the average win rate of all 126 Derevi tournament entries is around 20.36%. And those playing Stasis is dragging down the overall win rate, indicating that Stasis might be a bad card. And the difference is like 4%, so yeah, that's a big drop. While other cards like Birthing Pod is boosting the win rate. Here we have an increase by 1.03%, indicating that maybe not play Stasis and play Birthing Pod instead. And we can go through card by card, getting an overall picture of kind of what form of direction we should be taking. Delny Streetwise Lookout, as I mentioned, has been a huge improvement for Derevi, and as you can see, yeah, it's increasing the win rate by 3.09%. As you can see here, it's an auto-include, more or less, to play Emil the Blessed. Now, when something is achieving something like an almost 100% inclusion rate, it's going to achieve the exact same average win rate as the total average. But what you're seeing here is basically that Emil the Blessed is an auto-include. Same with Gaia's Cradle. A short jump back to stacks, we have Static Orb, showcasing a bad performance. This is once again old school Derevi style. not really working out. The One Ring's win rate is actually in red, but if you take a look up there, minus 0.49, it's not really making a huge impact. Now sure, it's in the red, and that could be just a random small occasion, especially considering it's just very close to the total average. So I would still say that the One Ring is more or less an auto-include for Derevi in general. Trin Sphere has also been showcasing a drop in the win rate and a very low popularity vote. Another potential Derevi combo that you can go for is the Walking Ballista together with Heliod Sun Crown, but as you can see here, not really recommended. Now Walking Ballista is actually a option together with that Emil the Blessed and Gaia's Cradle, so there is an overlapping synergy with the combo I've showcased and this thing, but it looks like it's better to stay on focus trying to get the Emil the Blessed Gaia's Cradle combo to work better, because in the end Walking Ballista is kind of a bad card on its own. Thrasius is also showcasing a good performance. If you have Thrasius in play, you have Gaia's Cradle in play, and you have Derevi, you don't have Emil the Blessed, you're still having a great game. The card drop potential here is amazing, as you're going to be untapping Gaia's Cradle over and over with Derevi attacks, fueling that mana into Thrasius activations. That's kind of okay and good, but also when you have that Emil the Blessed, Cradle and Derevi assembled, infinite mana, boom, draw your entire deck. Speaking of Emil the Blessed so much, Deadeye Navigator is also showcasing a, kinda good showcase. Solitude. I really like this creature. Now first of all, it's a creature, so your opponents can't like counterspell it, or they can counterspell it, but they can't use non-creature counterspells. But if you actually hardcast it, if you don't have like anything better to do with your mana, it's going to be a creature that can attack and create Derevi triggers. But it's also something you can tutor for with a Court of Calling. It's a very expensive Court of Calling, like 8 mana Court of Calling, but still, something you can do. Worth mentioning the capacity of it at the very least. Another potential win con is actually Overrun. Elish Norn is a hate bear and an overrun. You're going to kill your opponent's tiny creatures, some of their commanders like Tymna is going to die and such. But you're also going to be like swinging for hard punches. And it is kind of showcasing a small good performance. Now the popularity vote is very low, so it doesn't look like it's a necessary thing to go for, and a lot of Derevi players are basically opting away from playing Elish Norn. And I truly believe that they have good arguments on their personal opinions why they don't want to play it, but it's still showcasing like a, okay result. Speaking of Elish Norn, we have Mother of Machines, that has a very low sample size so far. It's also a bit of a newer card, and obviously it's not something all Derevi decks is going to be playing, but I'm showcasing it as a potential. I would like to point out that we can't really trust the win rate. We have 24 decks so far that have actually brought this into tournaments, but it's showcasing a pretty good promise of an increase of 4.17% win rate. It's a stacks piece against your opponent's ETB, like you're going to prevent that Dockside, you're going to prevent that Fastest Oracle, those are the very key part, but your opponent's Gilded Drakes, opponent's Spellseekers, and sure, you're going to prevent opponent's Ranger Captain of Eos as well. But you're going to like increase some of your own ETBs as well. Now Derevi is, yes, Derevi is an ETB, but the major part of Derevi is not the ETB. However, this can replace Gaia's Cradle. If you have a land that taps for 2, you will get 2 Derevi triggers from your Emil activation to untap that land twice, making the land tap for 4, which will go infinite. So there are some good arguments why this would be working out for Derevi in general, but there's definitely the big argument that 5 mana is quite a lot, and a good reason to maybe not play it. Time will tell if this is going to see more inclusion in future Derevi tournament entries. Another card I really wanna showcase in this video is Gilded Drake, that have not been showcasing a promising result. Now we have a pretty decent inclusion rate here. 35.7% of Derevi have entered into tournaments with this inside the deck list, and that have achieved an average win rate of 13.83, which is a big drop by minus 6.53%, showcasing that it's not really recommended. And I believe this to be correct because I've looked at Gilded Drake in general on other commander pairing combinations like Tymnan Kram and CSA and such, and seeing that, yeah, it's not really that good in general. It's usually showcasing, not always, but usually showcasing a drop in the win rate. Another card we should take a look at are the group concept of clone effects, like Phyrexian Metamorph, usually becoming your opponents like. Thrasius is actually kinda good to clone, but also Dockside Extortionist. The major one is Dockside Extortionist. This is actually helping your Emil combo, because if an opponent has a Dockside Extortionist, you have an Emil and Phyrexian Metamorph, you have the combo assembled. Instead of doing Gaia's Cradle, you can do your Phyrexian Metamorph into a Dockside Extortionist and loop that thing for infinite treasures. You don't actually even need Derevi in this situation either. Our champion, the winning decklist, is also playing Flesh Duplicate as a secondary alternative to Phyrexian Metamorph. This is an odd one. I don't really have that much statistics on Charismatic Conqueror, but it's creating a lot of 1/1 vampire creature tokens. Now this is going to fuel your Gaia's Cradle, so that's good, but it's also going to give you a lot of potential attackers that can create Derevi untapped trigger effect. So I can see the appeal of playing this, yes. Aven Interruptor is a cool card. It's something of a counter spell or a delay effect, kinda. It got flash, it got flying, key part, it can attack and create Derevi untapped triggers. So you are interacting with an opponent. You're not probably like counterspelling the Adnos, but you're going to make the Adnos cost 7, which is gonna make it really hard to cast. But you're also gaining that flying attacker. We're playing Neoform. I wanna highlight that with Neoform and Derevi, you can instantly get a 4 CMC Emil the Blessed. Transmute Artifact to find that one ring. Archdruid's Charm, it can tutor for creatures, but it can also destroy artifacts and enchantments. Really good when you wanna interrupt an Underworld Breach. But it can also fight creatures. So it's like spot removal and creature tutor all in one. And it can also find a land, by the way. And the part where you're like finding Gaia's Cradle with Archdruid's Charm isn't really a problem, as the land comes into play tapped from this spell. Derevi is instantly going to untap it. We're playing Dol Amrot, or the Minimano Schools of Walter Edge that can untap target legendary permanent. This is going to synergize with the One Ring. Or Chromatic Array as well, actually. C-Double is a new card for me. This spell can't be copied. Choose one. If an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, you may choose both, which is going to be kinda easily achieved. Copy target spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Then the second option is create a token that's a copy of target creature. So you can make a token of Dockside Extortionist, or a token of another cool key creature. Wait, you can make a copy of Eternal Witness, and yeah, that's... But the cool part about this is that you're gaining kind of double value. So if someone is casting like a Demonic Tutor, and there is a Dockside Extortionist in play, you get both. Because opponents are usually going to have 8 or more cards in their graveyard. This is kinda usually going to happen. Not in the early stage of the game, but eventually. This means that this deck is totally playing 1, 2 Stunt Double, Flesh Duplicate, and C-Double, 4 cloning effect. So if an opponent has a Dockside Extortionist, you're gonna have 4 cards inside this build that can become that Dockside Extortionist. And if you add in potential creature tutors, you have more. There's even a wordy mention of a synergy here of Elamir's Call and even Interrupter. So if someone is casting a very scary spell and you have enough mana to cast Elamir's Call, finding in instant speed this creature, you can interact with that very scary spell. If that doesn't happen, you can use Eldermir's Call to then find Emil the Blessed instead, or one of your clone effects to clone that cool Dockside Extortionist. So I really like the multiple functionality from these tutors. Yes, it's only finding a creature, but depending on what you're finding, you can interact with various different things, making your build more adaptive, and that's good. In the end, Derevi is in a form of tough spot. The win rate has been steadily stabilizing around an average 20%. There have been new cards that is slowly increasing the win rate a tiny bit. Like, it has been viewed as a very weak, kind of unplayable commander for quite some time, but the One Ring and Delny and some other new cards have kind of been pushing it upward a tiny bit. So we will see over time if it's sticking around and potentially improving, because it is a very cool and one of the oldest commander products we've achieved or have. And it is a very cool band commander, a very cool unique concept, attacking and untapping things. So I'm very happy to see Derevi win a tournament, and big congratulations to Alex. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next one.